Love lives here.
My beloveds, here in the month of March, here this year, we are working with the theme of timeless wisdom, evolutionary vision. And then over there on that side wall right there, my beloveds, here, you can see that we have a version of that hanging there on the wall, guided by vision, grounded in wisdom. So we're working with timeless wisdom and evolutionary vision this year here at Centers for Spiritual Living Worldwide. And specifically in the month of May, we are working with the theme of Holy, Holy Uprising. And as we have been mentioning, and as we've been talking about this whole month, that this is a holy, completely holy, sacred uprising, an up-leveling in consciousness. And that is what we are talking about this whole month. And Reverend Victoria did a beautiful job last week. So I want to thank Reverend Victoria, who is here with us this morning. I want to thank her for her message last week as well. So we are talking about this holy, holy uprising, this uprising in consciousness, this up-leveling in consciousness. And last week we talked about this too is God. And the week before that, we talked about revolutionary love. And what does revolutionary love mean? And when we are talking about revolutionary love, we recognize that there's this revolutionary idea that a revolution, to have a revolution is to have a change in, or a shift in consciousness, a shift in belief system, a shift in mind. So what we know is, from our perspective here at Centers for Spiritual Living, that revolutionary idea is that if we change our consciousness, then what happens, our lives change as well, that they fall in line and they change as well, right? The world around us changes as well, that we are evolutionary, that we are revolutionary, that when we have a new thought, when we have a new belief, then everything around us begins to shift, change. And we talked about the power of love, and recognizing that the power of love is the power of oneness, the power of wholeness. And that is too what we teach here, that we are all one, that there is only this one life, one power, one presence, that there is only one. And it is when we recognize that, when we use this power of love, when we use this awareness of love, and we use this awareness of oneness, that we then begin to be able to make shifts and changes, not only in our own lives, but in the lives of those around us, in the life of our community, in the life of our city, state, and beyond. Agreed? I love having people talk back too. It's great, for the most part. Yeah, right. Like next week, I'm back in my living room. No. Good morning, Beverly, and good morning, Tommy. So that's where we're coming from with this. So today we are talking about say their names. We are working with this theme of say their names. Because what's really important is, as we are talking about this up-leveling in consciousness, as we're talking about this holy, holy uprising, that this completely sacred uprising, as we're continuing the spiraling upward that we've been talking about all year, it's very important that we look at our past, that we recognize our past, that we anchor in and we honor those who have come before us. So it was very beautiful that Sanja was singing, standing on the shoulders, right? Because we're standing on the shoulders of all of those ancestors who have come before us. And so this morning, I would like to speak their names. I would like to say their names into this room and to acknowledge them, to acknowledge these beloveds who have gone before. And we'll start today with our ancestors from Centers for Spiritual Living and the New Thought movement. So of course, we know who founded Centers for Spiritual Living, who founded Science of Mind, Religious Science? Ernest Holmes, yes. Ernest Holmes founded faith, this philosophy, this tradition that we practice here at Centers for Spiritual Living, which is also known as religious science or science of mind and spirit. But he too stood on the shoulders of giants. He too stood on the shoulders of Phineas Parkhurst Quimby, of Thomas Troward, of Ralph Waldo Emerson, and Emma Curtis Hopkins. He too, all of these pioneers, all of these evolutionaries, and we speak their names recognizing that each name is the name of the divine. Your name is the name of the divine. Every name is the name of the divine. Speak these names into this room and presence them here this day, recognizing that they were evolutionaries, they were revolutionaries, they were pioneers at a time in nation's history and in this world history where people were beginning to awaken to the idea, really, truly awaken to the idea, not that it wasn't there before because it's timeless wisdom, but a movement was beginning to awaken to this reality that there is only one power, only one presence, one life. And awakening to the idea of that as we believe, so it is done. It is done as we believe. And not only to that, but really awakening to the possibility and what it really means to live from that place, what it means to actually apply spiritual principle in this way. And so we are applying spiritual principle. We are applying as we believe, so it is done, or it is done as we believe. We begin to apply this, and we begin to use it to change our way of thinking, to change our belief systems, to change the way we move in the world. And as we apply this spiritual principle, the creative process, as we apply it, we begin to see differences. And so this group of people really brought that forth in the late 1800s and early 1900s here in the United States. And then as Ernest Holmes was working with and teaching and growing and sharing his wisdom and sharing his knowledge with others, then he too had others come alongside him, friends come alongside him. And you'll recognize these names as well, perhaps if you've taken some of our classes. Raymond Charles Barker, William Hornaday, and Reginald Armour, all who helped shape the institution and the organization that we now know as Centers for Spiritual Living. And there are some names here that I want to share with you, that I want to presence into the room, that are very important names as well, who you may or may not have heard of. But these are also very important people in our movement, in the beginning of our movement, a New Thought movement, a beginning of Centers for Spiritual Living. And these beloveds were all African American. So I want to make sure that we presence these names as well today, because each had a unique contribution to the movement. So J. Arthur Twine, Reverend Twine, Dr. Twine, founded Third Church of Religious Science in Los Angeles. You may know this as the church that in 1945, the Science of Mind magazine moved down to the very bottom and then labeled it colored. And Ernest Holmes saw that and said, oh, no, 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 we're not having that. And so he went and he spoke, and he went to Third Church, and he made sure that everybody at Third Church understood, and that the entire movement understood, that there is only one life, one power, one presence, that we are all brothers and sisters and siblings equally. And the very next month, then the proper order in the Science of the magazine was restored. So that was J. Arthur Twine who founded Third Church of Religious Science. It was the Third Church, what do you call it? Registered, sanctioned, what's the word I'm looking for, people? I have people here to tell me what's the word. What's that? Chartered, that's the word. There we go. It was a Third Church chartered in our entire organization. Then we also have Mother Pearl Wood, who founded Triangular Church of Religious Science, also in Los Angeles. Marcus Garvey, Sarah Flowers. Sarah Flowers wrote books and books and books on changing your life, changing your thinking, changing your life. Elma Lumsden, she founded the center in Jamaica. And of course, we have O.C. Smith, who you may remember was a top 40 Billboard chart topper, right? And then here at Riverside Center for Spiritual Living, our very first minister back in 1942, the founding minister here at Riverside Center for Spiritual Living was Dan Custer. And so we lift up these names here, recognizing that each one of these is a giant who has gone before us, who has stood before us, and we are standing on their shoulders. without the vision of Dan Custer and those beloveds in 1942, we would not be here today, and we became the 16th chartered Church of Religious Science back in 1942. So we can be very proud of that. We have our 80th anniversary next year. Yeah, wow, right? You know, so I hear some of these people like, oh, we're having our 40th. I'm like, oh, you're cute, you know? You're so cute. You're still a youngin'. Come see us when you're 80. But it's all of these beloveds who helped us, each one of us present in this room and each one of us present here online, helped us to grow. And these are the shoulders upon which, some of the shoulders upon which we stand, that we are here and we understand the ideas and the principles and the spiritual tools that we teach and that we espouse and that we live by here at Centers for Spiritual Living. And so we owe them a deep debt, there we go, of gratitude. Wow, so different. A deep debt, still can't say it, deep debt of gratitude. There we go. And so these beloveds who have shown their light, whose shoulders we stand on, they've brought forth their timeless wisdom, and we continue to expand on that timeless wisdom. We continue to grow from that timeless wisdom. We continue to move forward because we are what? Open at the top. That's what Ernest Holmes taught. We are open at the top. So we are continuously evolving. We are continuously moving forward. And so another name I'd like to presence here today is Dr. Nirvana Gale, who helped Michael Beckwith found Agape, and who helped really, with Dr. Beckwith, really help bring visioning to the forefront in our movement. And so we speak his name this day as well. So we honor these beloveds who have gone before us. And in recognizing these beloveds, we recognize that each one is the power and the presence. Each one is love made manifest. Each one is a divine spark. Each one is a divine idea in the mind of God. Each one of us is spirit made manifest. And that is true for each one here in this room, each one online. That is true for all of life and all of creation. And so I speak that now. I remind us now, too, not only of our ancestors who have gone before, but our premature ancestors. Our premature ancestors are those ancestors who were taken from us, who left this plane of existence not of natural causes, who left this plane of existence prematurely through violence or through disease or some other means. This week, Tuesday, in fact, marks the 1-year anniversary of the murder of George Floyd. So we say his name today. We say the name of Breonna Taylor. We say the name of Ahmaud Arbery. And we say the name of Daunte Wright. Daunte Wright, you remember, was murdered in Bloomington, Minnesota, at the same time that the Derek Chauvin trial was occurring, when Derek Chauvin was on trial for George Floyd's murder. Here in Riverside, we lift the names and we speak the names of Taisha Miller, Leroy Stevenson, and most recently, Felix Marquez. Since George Floyd's murder a year ago, 181 of our Black brothers, sisters, and siblings have died, have been killed by police. Since January of this year, 24 trans people have been killed, have been murdered. 24. And so we speak their names today too. Brianna Pardo, Natalia Smoot, Jeffrey Bright, and Jasmine Kennedy. Since January 1st of 2021, there have been 194 mass shootings. 11 of those happening on Mother's Day weekend alone. And so we speak the names of these beloveds, we speak the names of these premature ancestors, remind us of our oneness, remind us of who we truly are, who they were, and who they are still. Who are they? They are the power and the presence of love. Who are we? We are the power and the presence of love. We remember who we are, we remember them, and we honor them by reminding ourselves and stepping into this revolutionary love that we've been talking about. By reminding ourselves and stepping up completely and sacredly to a holy, holy uprising in consciousness, so that we can step forward, we can go forth from these walls or from our couches at home, that we can go forth into our larger community as the power and presence of love. That is what we are called to do here. Our vision, part of our vision here at Riverside Center for Spiritual Living, is we are what it looks like when a CSL, when a Center for Spiritual Living leads a city. That's just not me, that's all of us together doing this work together. And we do it by remembering these beloveds who were taken too soon by violence, by disease. This past year, 589,000 plus lights in the United States. Places of love. Places of the divine. Emanations and impartations and expressions of the divine made their transition due to COVID-19. 589,000 plus. 63,000 of them here in California alone. 4,602 of them in Riverside County. We have all been touched by the past year. And while we cannot name all 589,000 people and counting, I do want to speak two names into the room today. Gabrielle Lewis and Erlene Bogan, the mother of Denise and the sister of Earl, who both lost their lives this year, their physical lives this year, due to COVID-19. So our community here at home has been deeply touched as well. And while it is great to see everybody here in the sanctuary, we remember these beloveds too. And I also want to speak the names of 3 other beloveds that made their transition this year in our community. Samuel Drake, Kimmy Johnson, and Reverend Lee McNeil Nash. And so we honor these beloveds. We remember who they are. We remember their impact in our lives. We remember how their lives shaped ours, touched ours, informed ours. And so we remember them with love. We allow their light to join our light, their love to join our love, so that we may go forth from this room, from this time together, that we may go forth and shine light, greater light out into the world, greater light into the darkness itself. Because we recognize the love that is. So I would like to share with you a poem here by Merritt Malloy, and it's called Epitaph. It's really beautiful. And so I would love for you, I would encourage you, as I share this poem, to contemplate anybody, all of your ancestors or your premature ancestors who may have transitioned in the past year or past several years. Call their names to mind as I share this poem with you. And for those of you online, I invite you to speak their name into this room by typing their names in the comments. And here in this room, we'll have a moment to be able to speak names as well as once I complete this poem. So I invite everybody to take a nice deep breath and breathe in and receive. Epitaph by Merritt Malloy. When I die, give what's left of me away, children and old men that wait to die. And if you need to cry, cry for your brother walking the street beside you. And when you need me, put your arms around anyone and give them what you need to give me. I want to leave you something better than words or sounds. Look for me in the people I've known or loved. And if you cannot give me away, at least let me live on in your eyes and not in your mind. You can love me most by letting hands touch hands, by letting bodies touch bodies, and by letting go of children that need to be free. Love doesn't die. People do. So when all that's left of me is love, when all that's left of me is love, give me away. Give me away. And so here, Fred Vargas, James Shepard, Jackie Shepard. I invite our beloveds here in the room to go ahead and speak names out loud at this time. Grandma Maria, Grandma Rosa, Tia Rosa, Elsie, my beloved brother, Freddie Moses. Thank you, Doris. Thank you, beloveds. Marcus Morgan Brown, Shirley Marie Lingenfelter Brown, Marcus Morgan Brown, the second, Deborah Ann Brown Clements, Mr. Obian, yes. And so we speak their names, we say their names, we lift them up, we remember who they are, we remember the love that each one is, we remember the love and the light that they have shown in our lives, that they have shared with us. And so we take this love, and as the poem says, we take this love and we give it away. We give it away. We share this love, we share this light with everyone we come in contact with everyone on the street, with everyone we have, those that we have met and those that we have yet to meet. We share this love. We bring this love, we share this love, and we stand together in this love, in this light. So I invite you to share this love. I invite you to give this love. Give it away. Give it away. Join the NAACP if you haven't done so. Join GLAD if you haven't done so yet. Join or look to ways to get involved here locally in the community. We have several ways that you can get involved in the community. You can go to the website. You can see all of our community partners. There is a myriad of ways to get involved in the community. Get involved. Use this love. Use this light that you are. Share it and give it away. Give it away. I guarantee you've already received it. So you know that you receive it and you give it and you receive it and you give it. And the more that you receive the love, the more you give the love, the more it expands. And that, my beloveds, is how one of the ways that we create a world that works for everyone and all of creation. Debbie Stampy, George Dietz, Harold Smith Jr., Jeff J. Steelman, all of my coworkers that COVID took this year, Doris Soriano. Let's breathe together, and let's come together in consciousness. And so I recognize right here and right now that there's just this one power, there's just this one presence, there's just this one love. It goes by many names. Whatever name we choose to call it, it so goes. Because it doesn't care what we call it. It just simply is. It is all that there is. And today we recognize it as love. Today we recognize it as light. Today we recognize it as joy, as peace, as harmony, as abundance. And we recognize it as being the totality. It is the isness and the allness and the fullness. It is life itself. It is eternal. It is infinite. And I recognize that it is all that there is. Therefore, I am one with it. I am that I am. It is the very essence of who I am. I am a divine emanation, impartation, manifestation, an expression of this one life, this one love, this one presence. And as I know that this is true of me, I know that this is true of everyone gathered here this day. I know that this is true of all of life, of all of creation, of all of our ancestors, of all of our premature ancestors, that each is the divine made manifest. Each is the divine expressing wholly, perfectly, and beautifully. And so I speak my word here and now for this beloved community, recognizing that we too speak the names of our ancestors. We too speak the names of our premature ancestors. We too recognize that we are transparencies for the divine. We are here to be used by the divine, by God, to express love and wholeness and peace in the world. This is the divine calling to which we have each been called. And we say yes to that. We say yes to it right now. We recognize the love and we allow it to share. We allow it to expand. We allow it to grow. And we give it away. We give it away. We give it away. And so I know that this day is good and very good. I know that this life is the one life. It is the eternal life, that each life is that in full, glorious expression and manifestation. And so we honor those who have gone before. We join their light with our light. And we step into a new day. We step into a new dawn. And Spirit is always present with us, in us, through us, as us. And so I give thanks. I give thanks for each individualized expression. I give thanks for each individualized life. And I give thanks for the love and the light And I release this word now, knowing that it is done. I let it be, and so it is.
Love